Hey, good morning, friends. Today, my friends, is Friday, December the 26th, 2025, and the time now is 7:11 a.m. So, friends, I want to talk about the recent development in Africa, and I want to talk specifically about the fact that Donald Trump, United States, made an attack into Nigeria, basically by the order of the President of the United States, Donald Trump. The United States military strike in Nigeria. Now, friends, it is very interesting. Yesterday, we all know that yesterday was Christmas Day, and I wasn't feeling well. In fact, I am still not feeling well, even though I am a lot better. However, as a means to clear my throat, because I do have cold or the flu or whatsoever, I went out running and it was mad cold, and I ran for an hour. And as a result, I came home, took a shower, I made a recording for one of my channels, and then I relaxed and went to sleep. But I woke up several times as I slept, and around about 4 a.m. in the morning, I woke up and I decided, let me watch comedy or let me watch something on YouTube. And I came across a video of a prominent African influencer who is of Nigerian slash British descent. He is a famous Nigerian social media commentator, live in the United Kingdom, and he often make videos about geopolitics, what is happening in Africa, and issues relating to the African diaspora. And I got the news from him in his most recent video about the attack on Nigeria by the United States. And I then do several research, and it is certain that Donald Trump ordered U.S. military to strike into Nigeria and then deliver the news through his Truth Social. Now, what is being said is that the United States attacked or striked ISIS bases or facilities in northern Nigeria or northwestern Nigeria. But what is interesting in terms of this development or this news, as many are saying it, is the fact that even though they are saying that the United States did attack ISIS facilities in western or northwestern Nigeria, they are not talking about the very foundation of this, of ISIS. ISIS is a direct result of activities that the United States has done around the world in the Middle East. And then you have Boko Haram slash the Islamic State in West Africa, which are also direct result of U.S. military intervention or activities on the African continent. Now you are saying that you are attacking terrorists who are quote unquote killing Christians, which is a lie. But then you're talking about attacking these terrorists, and you are not talking about how your activities were the very reasons for these terrorists to emerge in the first place. Now, friends, as much as that is something that I want us to look at, I want to also stress several things. What is happening is that the Nigerian government released a statement that it participated in the strike, in the U.S. strike against Boko Haram in Nigeria or ISIS in Nigeria. Now, I do believe that Nigeria played no role in this. The United States, as a means to show power, to show dominance, carried out the attack by itself. The Nigerian government and the Nigerian president, Bola Tinubu, are basically pussy representation or representatives of Nigeria and Africa. Now, what is happening? We, us Africans, also need to look at the fact that we are seeing white supremacy or white supremacists institutions in the United States, in the West, are on the march. And us as Africans, we need to acknowledge the fact that we are a conquered people. We've been conquered. Because what happens in Nigeria demonstrates several things. One is that it demonstrates no matter what happened, whether this is taken to another level and it leads to the disintegration of Nigeria, the United States and the West wins either way. If Nigeria is destroyed, the United States wins, because in this case we have a broken up Nigeria, and the United States can basically carry out diplomatic, military threatening of or against these various segments of Nigeria which will emerge, and still carry out its power, its might, and win whatever concession. But for us Africans and Nigeria, the very reality of Nigeria being disintegrated, dismantled by the United States action or activities, can carry out a psychological, emotional trauma for Africans, which has been the case for the past 500 years or so. Now, Nigeria being what it is, if it is not destroyed or disintegrated and it remains, another pussy government comes into power, the United States wins either way. And we'll see a corrupt, ineffective Nigeria and government. For us Africans and Nigeria, especially those Nigerians who, because of the fact that they've come to hate the inefficiency and the corruption and the lack of effort in the Nigerian government or whatever African governments out there, that they actually welcome destruction. And this is the sad reality of Africa or Africans. Our people, we've been beat up so bad in Africa that we welcome destruction, thinking that the destruction will be our savior. Just like many Nigerians are welcoming the United States to strike Nigeria. It is bad. It is bad. And it shows that we need to think. Now, in terms of Nigeria, the Nigerian government is saying that they provided the United States with intelligence and welcomed their attack. United States attack on Boko Haram or on ISIS. Now, it is very interesting. To that, my question is really, so you mean the Nigerian government has had intelligence on Boko Haram and on ISIS in Nigeria for the very, 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 very long time and did nothing about it? And it is very interesting that the same Nigeria that went into Benin at the behest of France to repel a coup in Benin is now welcoming the United States to strike into Nigeria. So Nigeria has what it takes to go into Benin and beat up the coup plotters in Benin, basically defeat the coup in Benin. Meanwhile, cannot even attack its own terrorist groups in Nigeria, and it has to call the United States to come and basically attack, basically to invade, to occupy Nigeria, because this is where it is going to go. The United States is not just going to stop with attacking Boko Haram or ISIS. The United States will go for full occupation of Nigeria. And if that is the case, then we are done. Because Nigeria is supposed to be West African superpower and one of Africa's superpower. And the big brother, big sister on the African continent. The mom or dad of the African continent or of many countries and institutions in Africa. Should Nigeria get occupied, then African consciousness is occupied. And this is very bad. Now, my friends, however, in terms of Nigeria, what I think this U.S. strike on Nigeria could have done is also solidify and confirm the end of the Bola Tinubu's presidency. I think it also solidified the possible end of Nigeria as we know it today. Because this could have meant that Nigeria, the president and the government of Nigeria currently, could have signed the death warrant of Nigeria as a country, as an institution. And I hope that is not the case. And however, for us Africans, I believe that what we have to do, especially those in power, is whatever is happening in Nigeria, Africans and those in power, the Sahel state and the rest of Africa, South Africa, need to begin to plot how they can accommodate the Nigeria that will emerge out of the United States activities in Nigeria to basically prevent Nigeria from becoming dismantled. This is because Nigeria, a country of about 230 to 250 million people, should Nigeria becomes disintegrated, the rest of Africa does not have what it takes to welcome even 20 million Nigerians as refugees, let alone half of Nigeria as refugees. And also, should Nigeria becomes disintegrated, should Nigeria goes up in flame into a civil war, a new civil war, will become a destabilization reality for the rest of West Africa and the rest of Africa. So what African intellectual and Africans in power need to begin to do is come up with an West African and African policy to keep Nigeria as it is intact. One, because of optics, and also because as many countries and people around the world should have an emotional myth, psychological myth to gravitate towards. Nigeria as a superpower and as a big brother, big sister Africa, should be one, a reality and also a myth that Africans should gravitate towards and also work to prevent its disintegration. Because this is a very serious thing for Africa. But this is also bad in that Nigerian government, Bola Tinubu, is welcoming, as much as Nigeria is supposed to be Africa and West Africa's superpower, in terms of population, in terms of economy, and cultural, and in other ways. They are welcoming the United States, a totalitarian, a white supremacist government as of now, to come and basically step on them. It is bad. It is bad. It is inhumane to and for the Nigerian people and to and for the rest of Africa. In this case, I believe Tinubu and the current government of Nigeria could have sealed Nigeria's fate, or perhaps, possibly, I believe, their own fate. As of now, I am going to call it. It may not be now, it may be in the near or far future, but I do believe that Nigeria could see a coup, because I'm sure that many in Nigeria, not just Christians, Muslim, or whatsoever, the various sects individually, but in terms of a solidarity mentality, they do not like what has happened. The fact that Bola Tinubu's government has welcomed the United States to strike in Nigeria. Actually, any country that is supposed to be a peace-loving country, a peaceful country that sees itself as a power, should not be allowing another country to strike any target within its border. So in this case, Bola Tinubu's government could have sealed their own fate. But I also believe that we could see a coup in Nigeria. And in this case, the coup plotter, I believe, as much as they may not like Bola Tinubu and his current government, I do believe they could be Pan-Africanists who will say, we will fight this bullshit out of Nigeria. However, we will keep Nigeria intact for Nigerians and also for the peace and stability of the rest of West Africa and Africa. Recently, we saw a Nigerian bomber plane was grounded in Burkina Faso, and the Nigerian foreign minister went to Burkina Faso and secured the release of these servicemen. The fact that that is the case, that happens, and we are seeing the United States going into Nigeria, striking targets in Nigeria, and the American president even making a Christmas gift message, okay, saying that the dead terrorists and more to come, that this is a Christmas gift to the dead terrorists and more to come and to Christians. It is as if Donald Trump was also trolling Nigeria and trolling Muslims and others around the world. This is a guy who is not a Christian and is making such message and carrying out such campaign into Nigeria. However, I do believe in the long term, this could backfire against not only the Nigerian government, but the United States government and Donald Trump, because the risk is that it could radicalize Nigeria further, West Africa, and the rest of Africa. The people of Africa are tired and they are radicalized enough. However, the government, as of now in Africa, to a greater or less extent, are basically pussy governments who do not have any blood in their vein that we can say those bloods are there for the honor, the defense, the prosperity of their people or of the African people. But this is very interesting. Once again, I'm going to say that this attack on Nigeria could have sealed the fate of the current Nigerian government and Bola Tinubu. It also shows the danger of democracy as it is pushed and propagated by the West towards or within Africa. Because what it does is democracy, as it is pushed and propagated by the West to Africa, basically lead to Africa and Africans electing assholes such as Bola Tinubu and other leaders who basically come to power, basically dressing more like a town chief, a paramount chief than president. We are seeing weak-minded men running Africa. They cannot stand up for their people to challenge the West, the United States, NATO, to challenge them, say, no, we are not going to let you humiliate us, our people, our country. These guys are basically subjugated and they are bowing to everything that Donald Trump and the West throws at them. This is what democracy does, and this is the reason why leaders such as Ibrahim Traore and the members, the leadership of the Sahel states or Sahel Alliance, continue to gain respect from the African people. And in terms of Nigeria, I think us Africans need to pray that what the United States has done, the fallout of it, that it doesn't result into the disintegration of Nigeria as we know it. Because we need a stable, a unified Nigeria for Africa's peace and security to flourish, and so on and so on and so on. Now, friends, when I heard this news as I was still asleep this morning, it broke my heart, because what it demonstrates time after time after time is that us Africans, and not just Africans on the continent, but the African diaspora, those born on the continent who are seeking refuge elsewhere around the world, and members of the diaspora, whether we are talking about in the Eastern or Western hemisphere, the descendants of slaves, it demonstrates that no matter this whole black pride and whatever, we are a conquered people. We've been conquered. In the United States, we've been seeing a group call themselves ADOS, American Descendants of Free Slave, or FBA, Foundational Black Americans, men who are saying that they do not subscribe or they do not want anything to do with Africa, Black Africa, and that they are going to delineate from Africa, which basically what they are doing is sowing the seed for their own destruction. They are basically breaking an alliance. Because of all these, Africans not wanting to be Africans, African leadership disintegrated and full of a bunch of assholes. What we are seeing white supremacy basically marching on us again. And we do not, I believe, have any answers for this as of now. Black Americans, many don't want to be Africans. As a result, Africans in the United States are being hunted down and deported. African countries are being attacked by the United States and Western countries. Africans are incapable of dealing with it by themselves. And the unification between Africans and its diaspora or their diasporic communities are fractured. So this is a very interesting but sad reality for the African people of the world. And what has occurred in Nigeria is evident of the fact that we are a conquered people. We need to acknowledge the fact that we've been conquered once again. We need to come together and see how do we undo the deeds, what has been done and what is being done to us, and basically channel ourselves toward a future of prosperity, unity, unification, togetherness, whatsoever, solidarity, decency, peace, stability, and so on and so on and so on. Now, if you're a Nigerian, friends, I hope that you think twice about what is happening in Nigeria and begin to stand up against it. Because what is happening in Nigeria could disintegrate Nigeria and could also lead to a civil war in Nigeria, which, if that becomes the case, the United States and the West will benefit. Because then, once Nigeria has been disintegrated, the various countries that will emerge are battered. They have to turn back to the West for whatever aid, and the West will come and basically visit them with whatever concession out there that they will have no reason but to accept. However, should you disintegrate Nigeria, and as a Nigerian, you have nowhere to go, and this is going to be a problem for you in the near and or far future. Now, friends, please tell me what you think, and I really want to know what you think, friends. However, I am going to end here. I want to thank you for being a member of the Echoing Voice community, my friends, but most especially and most importantly, friends, or most important, my friends, I want to thank you a lot for watching the Echoing Voice. Peace, my friends. Peace.